You ever wonder how a crisis can lead to something, well, permanent? I mean, how does one city, totally surrounded and cut off, end up creating one of the most powerful military alliances we've ever seen? It's this amazing story about crisis, pure grit, and, believe it or not, a bridge built in the sky. So let's dive right in. Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 1948, and you have to imagine this. Right in the middle of a divided Germany, there's this bustling city, West Berlin. And then, just like that, everything changes. It's completely cut off, a little island of democracy, suddenly all alone. Now, this wasn't some kind of accident or natural disaster. No, this was totally deliberate. And that act has a name that went down in history: the Berlin Blockade. So, what exactly was the blockade? Well, the Soviet Union basically decided to just shut everything down. They blocked every single road, every railway, every canal leading into West Berlin. Just like that, the city was strangled. No food, no fuel, no medicine could get in. Their lifelines were completely severed. I mean, can you imagine the pressure? You've got millions of people basically trapped, facing starvation. So the West had this just impossible choice to make. What do you do? Do you just give up and abandon the city? Or do you try to force your way in and risk starting World War III? The stakes were unbelievably high. So the entire world is just watching, holding its breath. What's it going to be? Because whatever they decided next wasn't just about Berlin. It was going to set the tone for the entire Cold War. This was a true moment of decision. And the answer came from the American president, Harry Truman. And it was so clear, so simple, and just absolute. He said, "We stay in Berlin. Period." That's it. 4 words. No wiggle room. The decision was made. They were not backing down. Okay, but it's one thing to say you're gonna stay. It's another thing entirely to actually do it when you're completely surrounded. With every road and railway blocked, there was only one place left to look for a solution, and that was up, to the sky. And so the entire Western response boiled down to just one thing, one single mission, and it was an absolutely audacious, some would say impossible, goal: keep an entire city alive by supplying it completely from the air. And that mission, of course, became the legendary Berlin Airlift. For almost a whole year, planes were landing and taking off day in, day out. It was this non-stop stream of aircraft, creating this incredible, well, a virtual bridge in the sky, flying right over the blockade to bring in everything the city needed to survive. And look, this was way more than just a logistical masterpiece, right? It was proof. Undeniable, public proof of what could happen when the Western nations actually worked together. It was this massive demonstration that said, hey, look what we can do when we're united. So, that powerful lesson, the one they all learned in the skies over Berlin, that didn't just fade away. Oh no. In fact, it became the blueprint, the foundation for something way bigger and much more permanent. And you can literally trace the steps. It's a perfect chain of events. First, you have the crisis. That's the Soviet blockade. That forced this incredible resolve, which was the Berlin Airlift. The success of the airlift gave them the proof they needed that working together really, really works. And all of that led directly to the final step, the legacy, the creation of the NATO alliance. And that's really the punchline to the whole story. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, was basically created to take the spirit of that airlift, that incredible proven teamwork, and lock it in, to make it official, to turn a temporary fix for a crisis into a permanent alliance. So when you look back at all this, it leaves you with a really interesting thought, doesn't it? When does something you do just to get through a crisis become a permanent bond? How does a temporary fix turn into a lasting promise? Well, if you're looking for an answer, the story of the Berlin Airlift and the birth of NATO is probably one of the best examples you're ever going to find.